In the year 2275, humanity had reached across the stars, forging alliances with various alien species throughout the galaxy. One such alliance was with the Xiphorians, a race known for their striking appearance and rich culture. Day, a young human soldier named Marcus Kane found himself on the vibrant planet of Zephora, a world teeming with color and life. The skies shimmered with hues of purple and gold, and the air was filled with the sweet scent of exotic flowers. Marcus had always dreamed of exploring the galaxy, but today was different. As he stepped off the shuttle, he could feel a mix of excitement and anxiety swirling within him. He was part of a diplomatic mission aimed at strengthening ties between humans and Xiphorians. But the thought of meeting their royal family made his heart race. He was clad in his bulky armor, a symbol of his training and dedication as a soldier. It was heavy, both physically and emotionally, and he often felt that it defined him more than he would like as the delegation approached the Grand Palace. Marcus's eyes widened at the sight of its towering architecture, adorned with intricate designs and shimmering crystals. The Xiphorian people welcomed them with open arms, their smiles genuine and warm. But as the humans were introduced to the royal family, all eyes turned to the 19-year-old Princess Lyra. She was radiant, her skin glowing in the sunlight, and her long flowing hair danced in the gentle breeze. Yet there was a spark of mischief in her eyes that hinted at her playful nature. When Marcus was introduced to her, he felt a flush of embarrassment as Lyra openly mocked him for his armor. "What is this? A metal statue? Are you afraid of the wind?" she laughed, her voice ringing out like music. The other Xiphorians chuckled, and Marcus's cheeks burned with humiliation. He had trained hard to become a soldier, yet here he was being ridiculed by a young alien princess. The laughter stung, and he quickly glanced down, wishing he could disappear. Despite the hurt, Marcus felt a flicker of determination ignite within him. He had always been taught that humans were brave and resilient. He wanted to show Lyra that there was more to him than just his heavy armor. But for now, the mockery hung in the air like a shadow, and he struggled to shake it off as they moved forward with the ceremony. The opening speeches began, filled with promises of unity and collaboration. Yet, in the back of his mind, the sting of Lyra's words echoed. As the day unfolded, the princess continued to tease Marcus, playfully challenging him to prove himself. "I bet you can't even keep up with me in a race," she taunted during the festival preparations, her laughter light and carefree. Each time she mocked him, a part of Marcus's spirit dimmed, but he refused to let her see how much it affected him. Instead, he clenched his fists, vowing silently to himself that he would rise to her challenge. The festival was a grand event, filled with colorful displays, music, and laughter. Xiphorians danced gracefully, their movements fluid and mesmerizing. Marcus watched. He couldn't help but feel a mix of admiration and envy. He longed to join in, to let go of his burdens, and simply enjoy the moment. About it, Lyra's teasing voice echoed in his mind, reminding him of the armor he wore, not just on his body, but in his heart. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in a brilliant array of colors, Marcus stood apart from the festivities. Feeling isolated despite the celebration around him, he watched Lyra as she laughed and danced with her people, her spirit unburdened and free. Deep down, he wished he could be like her, bold, confident, and carefree. But instead, he felt heavy with the weight of expectations and the sting of her words. With each passing moment, a growing resolve built inside Marcus. He would show Lyra and the Xiphorian people that he was more than just a soldier in heavy armor. He would prove that humanity had much to offer, and perhaps in the process, find a way to break through the barriers between them. The night was still young, and deep within him, a spark of hope flickered, waiting for the right moment to ignite into something greater. As the stars began to twinkle in the sky, Marcus made a silent promise to himself. He would not let Lyra's mockery define him. He would rise to the challenge, not just for himself, but for all of humanity. Little did he know, his journey would lead him to an unexpected friendship and a chance to change the course of their alliance forever. The vibrant festival on Zephora continued, with laughter and music filling the air. Marcus Kane watched as the Zephyrian people enjoyed themselves, their energy infectious. Yet he felt a sense of isolation, standing apart in his heavy armor. Princess Lyra's mocking words lingered in his mind, but beneath the sting of her laughter, something deeper was beginning to stir within him. A desire to prove himself, not just to her but to everyone around him, was taking root. As the festivities unfolded, Lyra approached Marcus with a playful glint in her eyes. "Are you going to stand there all day, or will you join the games?" she challenged, her voice teasing yet inviting. Marcus felt a mix of annoyance and intrigue. The Zephyrian games were famous for testing strength, agility, and wit, and he knew this was his chance to show that he was more than just a soldier in armor. He took a deep breath and nodded, deciding it was time to step out of his comfort zone. The first game was a race through the palace gardens, filled with obstacles and surprises. Lyra stood at the starting line, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Let's see if your heavy armor slows you down, human," she called out, a playful smile on her lips. Marcus felt a surge of determination. He wanted to show her that he could keep up, that he could be just as agile and clever as any Zephyrian. As the signal to start echoed through the gardens, he sprinted forward, his heart pounding with adrenaline. The race was intense. With Lyra darting ahead, her movements graceful and fluid, Marcus struggled to keep pace, his armor weighing him down, but he pushed through the discomfort. He navigated the twisting paths, leaping over small barriers and dodging trees, using every ounce of strength he had. At one point, he stumbled, nearly losing his footing, but he quickly regained his balance. Lyra glanced back, her laughter ringing out. "Come on, Metal Man, you can do better than that." Instead of feeling defeated, Marcus found her words igniting a fire within him. He dug deep and surged forward, determined to catch up. As they approached the final stretch, he noticed a hidden path to the right, a shortcut he had not seen before. In a split second, he made the decision to take it. The shortcut led him through a thicket of flowers, their sweet scent filling the air. As he emerged, he found himself neck and neck with Lyra. The finish line was just ahead. With a final push, Marcus summoned all his strength and sprinted past her, crossing the line first. The crowd erupted into cheers, and Lyra stood there, momentarily stunned. A mixture of surprise and admiration crossed her face. "Done." "Human," she said, her tone shifting from mockery to respect. In that moment, Marcus felt a wave of satisfaction wash over him. He had not only proven himself in the race, but had also earned a glimpse of Lyra's true nature. The next challenge was a test of intelligence and strategy. A game called the Mind Maze. It involved solving intricate puzzles to navigate through. A labyrinth filled with illusions and traps. Marcus felt a sense of excitement as he faced the new challenge. This was his chance to show Lyra that humans were not just strong, but clever too. As they entered the maze, Lyra's competitive spirit shone through. "Let's see if you can outsmart me this time." Inside the maze, they faced various obstacles, each requiring quick thinking and teamwork. At one point, they reached a dead end with a riddle inscribed on the wall. Marcus read the words carefully, and as he contemplated the answer, he noticed Lyra pacing impatiently. "Come on, Marcus. We don't have all day," she urged. Instead of feeling pressured, he took a moment to breathe, focusing on the riddle. Suddenly, the answer clicked in his mind. "Wait," he exclaimed, and with newfound confidence, he spoke the answer aloud. The wall shifted, revealing the next path. Lyra's eyes widened in surprise and admiration. "Impressive. You really are clever," she admitted, her playful demeanor softening. They continued through the maze, solving puzzles and overcoming challenges side by side. With each victory, their bond grew stronger, and Marcus began to see Lyra in a different light, not just as a princess, but as a partner. As they emerged from the mind maze, Marcus felt a sense of accomplishment. The mockery that had once stung him began to fade, replaced by a growing friendship with the princess. He realized that this challenge was not just about proving himself. It was about understanding each other and discovering the unbreakable spirit of humanity. Together, they had faced obstacles and emerged victorious, but the most important lesson was yet to come. Little did they know that the challenges ahead would test their newfound bond in ways they could never imagine. The sun rose brightly over Zephora, casting golden rays across the landscape and illuminating the vibrant colors of the festival. Marcus Kane felt a renewed sense of purpose as he reflected on the previous day's challenges. After competing alongside Princess Lyra, he had discovered a side of her that was both fierce and compassionate. The playful mocking had transformed into a genuine admiration, and he could sense a spark of friendship blooming between them. He felt lighter in his armor, as if the weight of her earlier taunts had been replaced by something more uplifting. As the festivities continued, the atmosphere was electric with excitement. Zephorians danced joyfully, their laughter echoing through the palace gardens. Marcus and Lyra were set to participate in a series of games that would test their skills and teamwork further. But as they prepared for the next challenge, a shadow loomed over the celebrations. News arrived of a rogue faction of Xiphorian rebels who opposed the alliance with humans. They believed that the partnership threatened Xiphorian culture and sought to disrupt the festivities. The announcement sent a wave of unease through the crowd. Marcus felt his heart sink as he watched Lyra's expression shift from joy to concern. The princess, always so confident and playful, now appeared vulnerable. "We need to protect the festival and the alliance," Lyra said, her voice steady but tinged with worry. "If the rebels attack, it could ruin everything we've worked for." Marcus felt a surge of determination. He had to stand by her side, to show her that he was more than just a soldier. He was her ally. "Let's figure out a plan," Marcus suggested, his voice firm. Lyra nodded, her eyes shining with gratitude. Together they gathered the other participants of the games and formed a strategy. As they discussed their options, Marcus was impressed by Lyra's quick thinking and ability to rally the Xiphorians. They decided to set up defenses around the palace and create a system of alert signals to warn everyone if the rebels approached. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the palace, the atmosphere grew tense. Marcus and Lyra took their positions, ready to protect the celebration. The sounds of laughter and music continued, but beneath the surface, a sense of anxiety hung in the air. "Ow! Do you think we'll be able to stop them?" Lyra asked, her voice low. Marcus looked into her eyes, seeing the mix of determination and fear. He placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We will. Together, we can face anything." Just as they finished their preparations, a commotion erupted at the edge of the festival. A group of rebels had made their move, shouting against the alliance and demanding that the Xiphorians stand against the humans. Marcus felt a surge of anger and fear, but he pushed it aside, focusing on Lyra's calm presence beside him. "We need to confront them," he said, his voice steady. "Let's show them that we are united." Lyra nodded, her resolve strengthening. As they approached the rebels, Marcus felt the weight of his armor once more. This time, however, it felt like a shield, protecting him as he stood beside Lyra. The rebels were fierce, their voices loud and filled with anger. "You humans don't belong here," one of them shouted. "You're corrupting our culture." Marcus felt a pang of hurt at the accusation, but he stood firm. Lyra stepped forward, her voice strong and unwavering. "We are not here to harm your culture. We want to build a future together." The crowd fell silent for a moment, surprised by her courage. Marcus watched as Lyra faced the rebels with unwavering conviction. He felt a swell of admiration for her bravery, and it fueled his own resolve. "We have faced challenges together," he added, his voice echoing through the crowd. "We can learn from each other, and together, we can grow stronger." The tension hung thick in the air, and for a moment, it seemed as though the rebels would not budge. But then, Lyra took a step closer, her eyes fierce yet compassionate. "We are not your enemies, your allies. Let us show you the strength of our friendship." In that moment, Marcus realized that they were not just defending their alliance. They were showing the power of unity. Slowly, the atmosphere shifted. The rebels, seeing Lyra's sincerity and Marcus's determination, began to lower their weapons. Perhaps they could find common ground. In that moment, Marcus felt a profound connection to Lyra, a recognition that they were both fighting for something greater than themselves. Together they had transformed fear into hope, And in doing so, they had taken a significant step toward solidifying their bond, not just as allies, but as friends. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a soft glow over the palace, Marcus felt a sense of optimism wash over him. They had faced adversity together, and this was only the beginning of their journey. Little did they know, the challenges ahead would test their friendship and their resolve in ways they could never have imagined. As the festival resumed in the warm glow of the evening, a sense of relief washed over Marcus and Lyra. The confrontation with the rebels had been tense, but their united front had quelled the immediate threat. Xiphorian people returned to their celebrations, laughter, and music filling the air once more. Marcus felt a deep sense of pride standing beside Lyra, who had shown incredible bravery in the face of adversity. Their bond had grown stronger, and he realized he was no longer just a soldier. He was part of something much larger. However, beneath the surface of joy, a shadow lingered. Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that the rebellion was not over. As they celebrated, he noticed Lyra's expression change from happiness to concern. "I can't help but feel that this was just the beginning," she admitted, her voice soft as they stepped away from the festivities for a moment of quiet. Marcus nodded, understanding her fears. The Xiphorian culture was rich and beautiful, but it was fragile. He felt a growing sense of responsibility to protect it, not just for Lyra, but for all the people he had come to admire. That night, as the stars twinkled brightly above, Marcus and Lyra gathered with the leaders of the Xiphorian Council. They discussed the day's events and the potential for a larger threat. The council members were divided, some still skeptical about humans and their intentions. "We cannot trust them fully," one elder stated, his voice gravelly with age. Marcus felt a pang of frustration. He had fought for their trust, and yet it seemed so easily dismissed. Lyra, however, stood firm. "We must not let fear drive us apart. The humans have shown their loyalty today. We need to strengthen our alliance to face whatever comes next." Her words were passionate, and Marcus admired her determination. But he also sensed the weight of uncertainty in the room. The council agreed to increase security around the palace, but Marcus knew that words alone would not be enough. They needed a plan. The following day, Lyra and Marcus set out to explore the palace grounds. As they walked through the lush gardens, Marcus shared his thoughts. "We should find a way to communicate with the rebels. Perhaps they just need to see the benefits of our alliance." Lyra listened intently, her brow furrowed in thought. "You're right. Maybe they fear what they don't understand. If we can reach out to them, we might be able to turn this around." Inspired by their conversation, they decided to organize a meeting with both Xiphorian leaders and representatives. From the rebel faction, they hoped that by bringing everyone together, they could foster understanding and dispel the myths that surrounded humans. Lyra's eyes sparkled with excitement. "If we can show them what we've accomplished together, it might change everything," she said, her voice filled with hope. As they prepared for the meeting, Marcus felt a sense of nervous anticipation. He was determined to impress the Xiphorians with his sincerity and dedication. He spent hours thinking about how to present their ideas effectively, wanting to show that humans were not just soldiers but partners in progress. Lyra, too, worked tirelessly gathering stories of humans who had helped Xiphorians in the past, hoping these examples would bridge the gap between their cultures. When the day of the meeting arrived, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Rebels and council members gathered in the grand hall, the air heavy with uncertainty. Marcus stood beside Lyra, feeling the weight of their shared mission. As they addressed the crowd, he could see the skepticism in many faces. "We stand here today, not just as humans and Xiphorians, but as allies," Marcus began, his voice steady. "Together, we have faced danger, and together, we can build a brighter future." Lyra stepped forward, her voice strong and unwavering. "That our differences can make us stronger. Let us share our stories, our successes, and our dreams. We can work together to create a world where both our peoples thrive." As she spoke, Marcus felt the energy in the room shift. Some rebels began to nod, their expressions softening as they listened to her passionate plea. The meeting unfolded. With a mix of tension and hope, stories were shared, walls began to crumble. A rebel leader spoke about the pain of losing loved ones in conflicts. And Marcus shared his own experiences of sacrifice and loyalty. Slowly, the atmosphere transformed from hostility to understanding. By the end of the meeting, there was a tentative agreement to collaborate on community projects. Showcasing the strengths of both species, as they left the hall, Lyra turned to Marcus, her eyes shining with gratitude. "We did it. We opened a door to understanding." Marcus felt a swell of pride. They had taken a significant step forward, but in the back of his mind, he knew that challenges still lay ahead. The external threat was not just about the rebels, but the deep-rooted fears and prejudices that lingered between their cultures. That night, as Marcus gazed up at the stars, he felt a mixture of hope and apprehension. They had made progress, but the real test was yet to come. Together, he and Lyra would have to navigate the complex terrain of trust and unity. But for the first time, he felt confident that they could overcome anything as long as they stood side by side. The days following the meeting were filled with a sense of cautious optimism. Marcus and Lyra had managed to create a bridge between the Xiphorian Council and the rebel faction. And for the first time, both groups began to work together on community projects. The air was charged with hope as they planted gardens, built schools, and shared stories that highlighted their shared humanity. Marcus felt a deep sense of pride as he watched the Xiphorians and humans collaborate, their laughter ringing. Out in the warm air, however, beneath this newfound unity, a dark cloud loomed. Not everyone was pleased with the alliance. A faction within the council, led by a powerful elder named Kellen, viewed the collaboration as a betrayal of Xiphorian traditions. Kellen had long held the belief that humans were a threat, and he would stop at nothing to protect his people from what he saw as a dangerous connection. Marcus had sensed Kellen's discontent during the meetings, but he had hoped that the positive energy of the collaboration would overshadow any lingering distrust. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Marcus and Lyra gathered with their allies to discuss the progress of their projects. Lyra's enthusiasm was contagious as she shared ideas for future initiatives. However, Marcus noticed that Kellen was absent. A sense of unease settled over him. "Where is Kellen? I haven't seen him in days," he asked, glancing around the room. Lyra's expression faltered slightly. "I'm not sure. He has been acting strangely ever since the meeting." Just as they were about to continue their discussion, a commotion erupted outside the palace. Marcus and Lyra rushed to the balcony to see what was happening. Below them, a group of rebels was shouting and waving banners that denounced the alliance with humans. Marcus's heart sank as he recognized Kellen at the front, rallying the crowd with fervor. "This is a betrayal of our people. We must stand against the humans before it is too late," he proclaimed, his voice booming with authority. Lyra's eyes widened in shock. "He's inciting a riot," she exclaimed. Marcus felt a surge of anger and fear. They had worked so hard to build trust, and now Kellen threatened to tear it all apart. "We need to calm them down," he said urgently. "If this escalates, it could lead to violence." Lyra nodded, determination replacing her initial shock. "We have to confront him." They hurried down the steps and approached the gathering crowd. Marcus could feel the tension in the air as the rebels shouted and waved their banners. Kellen stood at the center, his eyes ablaze with passion. "Humans are not to be trusted? It will take everything from us if we let them," he yelled, and the crowd erupted in agreement. Marcus felt his blood boil. This was not just a disagreement. It was a betrayal of everything they had worked for. Taking a deep breath, Marcus stepped forward, his voice steady but firm. "Kellen, this is not the way. We have made progress together. You are spreading fear and hatred, and that will only lead to more conflict." The crowd fell silent, their eyes shifting between Marcus and Kellen. Lyra stood beside him, her presence a beacon of strength. "We have come together as allies. We must not let fear tear us apart," she added, her voice ringing with conviction. Kellen's expression darkened as he glared at Marcus. "You do not understand our ways, human. You think you can come here and change everything? You are a threat to our culture?" His words cut deep, and Marcus felt a pang of hurt. He had fought for their alliance, and now he was being labeled an enemy. But he refused to back down. I understand that change is difficult, but it can also bring growth. Together, we can create a future that honors both our cultures. The crowd murmured, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. Marcus could see that Kellen was losing his grip on their emotions, but he needed to turn the tide completely. Look around you. We've built gardens, schools, and friendships. We're stronger together. He gestured to the smiling faces of Xiphorians and humans who had worked side by side. This is not just about one culture. It's about all of us. For a moment, it seemed as though Marcus's words were reaching the crowd. Some began to nod, their expressions softening. But Kellen, sensing his influence waning, shouted again, Do not be fooled. The humans are using you. They want to take our ways, our traditions, and twist them to fit their own needs. His voice was filled with desperation, and Marcus could see that Kellen would stop at nothing to maintain his power just then. A young Xiphorian stepped forward, her voice trembling but strong. I want to learn from the humans. They have shown us kindness and courage. We cannot let fear dictate our future. The crowd shifted, uncertainty giving way to hope. Lyra seized the moment. Together, we can create a new path, one where both our cultures thrive. We cannot let Kellen's fear divide us. As the crowd began to cheer, Marcus felt a rush of relief. They had turned the tide, but Kellen's anger was palpable. He stepped back, eyes blazing with fury. This is not over, he hissed, before retreating into the shadows. Marcus knew that this was just the beginning of a more profound conflict. Kellen would not give up easily, and the seeds of doubt had already been planted as the crowd dispersed. Lyra turned to Marcus, her eyes filled with gratitude and concern. Thank you for standing up for us, but I fear Kellen will strike back. Marcus nodded, understanding the gravity of their situation. We need to be ready. This isn't just about our alliance anymore. It's about protecting the future we've begun to build. The days following Kellen's rallying cry were filled with tension and uncertainty. Marcus and Lyra knew they had to act quickly to protect the fragile alliance they had worked so hard to build. The threat of Kellen and his followers loomed, larger than ever, and whispers of a potential attack spread like wildfire through the Xiphorian community. Marcus felt a heavy weight on his shoulders. He was not just a soldier anymore, but a protector of both human and Xiphorian futures. As they gathered with the council to discuss their next steps, the atmosphere was thick with anxiety. Marcus looked around the room, seeing the worried faces of Xiphorian leaders and human allies. We need to prepare for a confrontation, he said, his voice steady. Kellen won't back down. We'll try to sabotage everything we've built. Lyra nodded, her expression serious. We must show him that our alliance is stronger than his hatred. We need to unite our forces for the upcoming festival, making it a symbol of our shared hope. They decided to organize a grand celebration to showcase the unity between humans and Xiphorians. It would serve as a powerful message to Kellen and his followers that fear and division would not prevail. As preparations began, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. He worked alongside Xiphorian craftsmen, helping to create decorations and savage and banners that celebrated both cultures. Lyra, with her natural charisma, rallied the people, encouraging them to join in the festivities. But even as they worked together, Marcus could feel the undercurrent of tension. Kellen's faction was growing restless. Reports of skirmishes between rebels and their supporters trickled in from the outskirts of the city. One evening, as Marcus trained with a group of human soldiers, he overheard whispers of a plot to disrupt the festival. His heart raced as he realized the danger they were in. We have to warn Lyra, he said urgently to his fellow soldiers. That night, Marcus found Lyra in her chambers, poring over maps and plans for the celebration. When he shared his concerns, her eyes widened with fear. If they plan to attack during the festival, it could be disastrous, she said, her voice trembling. We need to strengthen our defenses and ensure everyone is safe. They quickly gathered their allies and devised a plan to fortify the palace and the surrounding areas, preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. As the day of the festival arrived, the palace was abuzz with activity. Brightly colored banners hung from every corner. and the air was filled with the scent of delicious food and the sound of music. Xiphorians and humans mingled, laughing and sharing stories, their bonds growing stronger with each passing moment. Marcus felt a sense of pride as he watched Lyra interact with the guests, her laughter infectious and her spirit uplifting. But in the back of his mind, he could not shake the feeling of impending danger. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the festivities, Marcus took a moment to gather his thoughts. He stood on the balcony overlooking the crowd, feeling a mix of hope and fear. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from the entrance of the palace. His heart sank as he turned to Lyra, who had just joined him. "What was that?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. Before they could react, a group of rebels burst into the courtyard, led by Kellen himself. "This celebration is a farce," he shouted, his voice booming over the music. "You are betraying our culture and our people. We will not allow this to continue." The crowd fell silent, all eyes turning toward the chaos unfolding. Marcus felt a surge of adrenaline as he stepped forward, determined to confront Kellen. "Kellen, this is not the way," Marcus shouted, his voice steady despite the chaos. "We have come together to celebrate our unity, not to fight." Tension in the air was palpable as Kellen glared at him. "Unity? You call this unity? You are corrupting our ways." He spat, his anger radiating through the crowd. Lyra stepped beside Marcus, her voice calm but firm. "Kellen, you are wrong. This alliance is a chance for both our peoples to thrive. We cannot let fear and hatred destroy what we have built together." The crowd shifted, many beginning to murmur in agreement. But Kellen, sensing his influence slipping, raised his weapon defiantly. "If you will not see reason, then I will show you the consequences of your betrayal." In that moment, Marcus felt a rush of determination. He could not let Kellen's anger lead to violence. "We don't need to fight," he urged, stepping between Kellen and the crowd. "Talk. We can find common ground." But Kellen's eyes were filled with rage, and he was not listening. Suddenly, he lunged forward, intent on making a statement. Without thinking, Marcus moved to protect Lyra, instinctively stepping in front of her. In that instant, chaos erupted. The crowd erupted into panic as Kellen's followers surged forward, and Marcus found himself in the thick of the fight. He fought to shield Lyra and those around him, determined to protect the alliance they had worked so hard to build. As the battle raged on, Lyra's voice rang out, calling for calm. "We must not let this turn into a war," she shouted, her voice cutting through the noise. Amidst the chaos, Marcus caught a glimpse of the shocked faces of the Xiphorians people he had come to respect and admire. They were not enemies. They were allies, caught in a moment of fear and misunderstanding. With a surge of adrenaline, he realized that this was the moment they had to turn the tide. They had to show everyone that even in the face of conflict, they could stand together. "Fight with us, not against us," Marcus shouted, looking toward the Xiphorian crowd. "We are stronger united." Slowly, he could see some of the rebels, hesitating, their resolve wavering. Lyra stood tall beside him, her eyes fierce with determination. "This is our chance to prove that love and unity can conquer fear. We will not let Kellen's hatred divide us." With their combined voices ringing out, Marcus and Lyra faced the chaos, determined to protect their newfound alliance. The battle was far from over, but together, they would fight for a brighter future, one built on understanding, trust, and hope. As they stood side by side, they knew that their true strength lay not just in their weapons, but in their unwavering belief in one another. The great crystal hall of Xiphoria sparkled with lights from 100 different worlds as representatives gathered for the final ceremony. Princess Lyrelay stood at the center podium, her once proud voice now filled with genuine warmth and respect. She looked directly at Captain Marcus Chen, who stood quietly among the human delegation, still without his armor after 3 days. The sight of him in simple clothes had become a powerful symbol that everyone in the hall understood. "My fellow beings," the princess began, her words carrying across the silent chamber. 3 days ago, I called humans weak, mocked their need for armor and technology, believed that strength meant showing power, and that wisdom meant never admitting mistakes. She paused, her young face showing a maturity that hadn't been there before. I was wrong about everything. Marcus watched her speak, feeling a quiet satisfaction that had nothing to do with being proven right. He had seen this transformation in her eyes during their private conversations, the moment when arrogance melted away and real understanding took its place. It reminded him why humans chose to serve as protectors and diplomats across the galaxy, even when it meant hiding their true capabilities. Captain Chen showed me that real strength is choosing not to use your power, Princess, Lirelei continued. When he removed his armor and walked away from my insults, he wasn't surrendering, he was teaching. Every step he took in our city, every person he helped, every crisis he solved with his bare hands, he was showing us what humanity really means. Her voice grew stronger. They don't wear armor because they are weak. They wear it because they are so strong that they choose to limit themselves for our comfort. The alien representatives murmured among themselves, many nodding in understanding. The crystalline ambassador from Arcturus stood up slowly. We have all seen human restraint in our negotiations, thought it was fear. Now we understand it was respect. Other voices joined in agreement, sharing their own stories of human diplomacy and kindness. Marcus felt the weight of his species' reputation shifting in that room. For too long, humans had been seen as the newcomers, the ones who needed protection and guidance. Now, finally, their true nature was being recognized, not as conquerors or weaklings, but as guardians who chose peace over power. Princess Lirelei raised her hand, and the hall fell silent again. Today, we sign more than a peace treaty. Forge an alliance built on truth and understanding. I propose that Zephyria and humanity create an exchange program not just of technology or trade, but of wisdom. Let our young people learn from human restraint and let humans benefit from our ancient knowledge. She looked directly at Marcus. Let us learn together what it means to be truly strong. The signing ceremony that followed was unlike any in galactic history. Instead of formal distance, there was genuine warmth. Instead of careful diplomatic language, there were honest conversations about mistakes and hopes for the future. Marcus watched as Princess Lirelei signed the treaty with steady hands, then approached him with something she had never shown before: humility. Captain Chen, she said quietly, would you honor us by putting your armor back on? Not because you need it, but because it represents something beautiful, the choice to be gentle when you could be overwhelming. She smiled, and for the first time, it was completely sincere. Wear it as a promise to the galaxy that strength and kindness can exist together. Marcus nodded slowly and began putting on his armor, piece by piece. But this time it felt different. The weight wasn't just protection, it was responsibility. As he sealed the final piece, he looked around the hall at faces that no longer saw human technology as weakness, but as wisdom made visible. Princess Lirelei addressed the gathering one final time. Let this day be remembered not for the treaty we signed, but for the lesson we learned. True power is not about what you can do, it's about what you choose not to do. Humanity has been teaching us this lesson for years, and we were too proud to listen. Her voice carried across the crystal hall with newfound authority. Today, we choose to listen. Today, we choose to learn. Today, we choose to be better. As the ceremony ended and beings from across the galaxy mingled freely, Marcus stood beside the young princess, who had become an unexpected ally. The armor felt comfortable again, but now he wore it with a deeper understanding of what it represented. He had walked away from her mockery 3 days ago, and in doing so, had walked toward something far more valuable than victory. He had walked toward understanding, respect, and a future where strength would be measured not by the power to destroy, but by the wisdom to build. The alliance between Zephyria and humanity would become a model for the entire galaxy, proving that sometimes the greatest battles are won not by fighting, but by having the courage to remove your armor and show the universe who you really are.